Welcome to the Define You Radio podcast, where class is always in session. Get ready for the life lessons, tips, and stories to help you define your life. And now, your host, the drill sergeant with love, Valencia Griffin-Wallace.
Think about the recording part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no big deal. It could be edited out.
Nice.
So,
That's a beautiful thing.
yay. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Define You Radio. I'm your host, Valencia Griffin-Wallace. I hope you guys are ready because guess what? It's 2019 and there's so much negativity out there. So I am honored to have a special classes in session with Miss Monica Bey. And she is a purpose alignment coach and an energy healer, which I love because some of you guys, energy, I swear, y'all need some healing, some spirit spray or something. So pens and papers ready, classes now in session. So welcome so much, Miss Monica, to Define You Radio. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful today. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited as well. So go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about you.
Okay, well, that's a long story, but we're going to keep it short. So I am Monica Bey, also known as the Healer in Heels, because yes, I love my heels. So what I do is I am a purpose alignment coach and an energy healer. And what that really means is I help people discover their life purpose, their divine purpose. And then not only do I do that, but then I help them align that with every area of their lives, because I think it's so important to live a life that is driven by your purpose and that is aligned with your purpose. And so that is what I organize everything that I do around. But through doing that, I use a lot of gifts that I have. One of the gifts that I have is the ability to heal. So I have always been a healer since I was a child. I'm a natural born energy healer. And what that means is that healing energy flows through me naturally and has the ability to heal people on the mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual levels. And that's something, that I've developed over a period of time in order to create it into, develop it into a more stronger tool that I can use. But it is something that came natural to me. And in addition to
So I'm writing like, okay, I got to hit this, got to hit this, got to hit this. Because that is a lot. But what's interesting is because you tell us about your life before you became the Healer in Heels, I guess would be my next question.
Sure. Well, and then I'll explain why I call myself the Healer in Heels, because it kind of ties to my life before and who I am now, mixed with the healing ability. So who I was before this was, I was a vice president for a finance company. That's what I did for a living. I was vice president for a finance company and I was in that industry for about 13 years. And I became an executive at a very early age, somewhere in my 20s. I don't recall the age, but I think around 24, 25 is when I became an executive. So I was one of the youngest executives in my field. And I had to work really, really hard to keep my, position and keep the respect and everything, because here I am, a very young Black woman in boardrooms with, 60-year-old Jewish men. And I had to hold my own, and I did. And so that was my journey as an executive. And I wore a lot of different hats, mostly on the business side of things. Even though it was a finance company, I dabbled in the finance, and I worked with revenue generation, but I was more so on the business side of things. I helped create subsidiary companies for the business, because it was a publicly traded company on NASDAQ. So I would, create different revenue streams so that so everything would work like a well-oiled machine, and the money would keep flowing in. And so I was very successful, making a lot of money. And then I found myself unfulfilled. And so once I realized I was unfulfilled, I, decided to start on my journey with, what is my purpose, and realizing what my purpose is. And then to backtrack a little from there, prior to me realizing I was unfulfilled, my body started breaking down on me. So what happened was I was working extremely hard, again, trying to prove myself. And again, I realize in hindsight too, that a lot of this was in my head, because no one in those boardrooms was like, no, I don't believe in her, and it's funny how we kind of, we shape our own realities, and sometimes that's not the actual reality of things. So I realized that in hindsight, that no one was pushing me to push myself, but because I'm such a go-getter and I'm so driven, I was pushing myself. And so I was working so hard, and I pretty much never took a vacation, and I would work, 13-hour days sometimes or more, and it was always on. And so what eventually ended up happening is my body started breaking down on me. I was very successful. I was making a lot of money. If anyone asked me if I was happy, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm happy. I'm living the life, everything is great. But what I realized was that when my body started breaking down on me, and I realized that it was stress that was causing it, that's when I was like, okay, maybe I'm not as happy as I thought I was. And maybe, maybe this isn't the life that I'm supposed to be living. And because, when your body starts to speak to you, it's important that you start to listen to those messages, because, I always say, whatever you like to call that guiding force, that's guiding everything, whether you call it God, Allah, the universe, source energy, whatever you want to call it, it will smack you in the face if you're not listening. And so I got smacked in the face, and I was unable to walk. And again, I'm in my 20s, so this was devastating to me. I was unable to walk. I had partial paralysis in my hands, and this is also going to give you a little bit of a picture of how dedicated of a worker I was. With all of this going on, not able to walk, I had, partial paralysis, depressed, anxious. I developed an anxiety disorder. I was depressed. They had me on all this medication. I had gained a whole lot of weight. There are hardly any pictures because of that. So, but with all of that, I still kept going into work. I refused to let the illness stop me from working, which I should have allowed it to stop me from working, because that's what the smack in the face was for. But I kept working, and I even went and got I don't know if anyone knows this, but it's called a Dragon dictation software. Have you ever heard of that? Yeah. So it allows you to speak into your computer to move the mouse without using your hands. So because I couldn't use my hands, that's what I did. And I was still at work doing what I had to do with, all this setup. And now in hindsight, it was kind of ridiculous. But at the time I was like, oh yeah, this is how dedicated I am. I'm working so hard. So anyway, all of that happened, and then it brought me back to my my healing ability, because again, I've always been able to heal since I was a child, and I've always had these gifts. And I started realizing that I had these different spiritual gifts when I was in my teens. I started understanding them more, because I realized some of them when I was younger, but when I was in my teens, they started to make themselves more evident. And then I started to kind of understand them more and study them more. And I was, really working with them for a while, until I started doing really, really well in business. And then everything else fell to the wayside. I stopped my spiritual practices. I stopped my, developing my gifts, because I was only focused on success, money, and where I was going, and all of that. So that became my focal point. And so even though I knew that I had the healing ability, when you're in the middle of something and you're really going through something, you kind of get stuck in that and you forget your power.
That's good.
Yeah. And so I forgot my power. And then when I was watching an episode of 2020, and this is why women should really tell their stories, because this woman telling her story became a part of my story. And so I'll explain that a little bit. So I'm watching 2020. It's this woman who has MS. And at the time they thought I had MS. I got diagnosed with everything under the sun, and none of it was what it was. It was simply stress. But I got diagnosed with MS, lupus, all kinds of things. And so at the time they thought I had MS. And so I'm watching the show and she has MS, so I'm paying attention. And then she's, talking about how she didn't give in to the disease, and instead, she wasn't able to walk at one point, just like I wasn't able to walk. And then all of a sudden she's running marathons, and it's because she didn't give into it. And so that kind of empowered me. I'm like, well, yeah, if she can do that, I can do that. And then it brought me back to my power of what can now, instead of sitting in this despair of what's happening to me, what can I do to turn this around? What can I do to take my power back and fix the issue instead of wallowing in it? And so it brought me back to my healing ability. I took myself off of all the medication that I was on, and I healed myself in 6 months.
So it's crazy, and I it's so much I want to kind of unpack as much as I can,
Yeah.
because a lot of times, especially these days, and I say women because now there's this whole, I call it like a black entrepreneur, and I fight with that word, movement, female movement. Like you're seeing, statistically, Black women are owning more businesses, and we're doing more, and we're pushing ourselves more. But on the other side of that, I know so many people that have anxiety or stress related issues. A friend of mine who's a cardiologist in Houston said that I think maybe 1 in 3 women die of heart disease and strokes and things like that, because we're pushing ourselves for the money, for success, for whatever else. So what was your actual diagnosis, or did they just not, were they never able to kind of give you a pinpoint, this is what it is? And like, how did you know it was stress?
Well, yeah, they never figured it out. The doctors just never figured it out. I had biopsies, I had EKGs, I had all kinds of testing that was done, and they could never figure it out. All of the tests that they did came back completely normal. And so they just, okay, let's give her a steroid. It's just Band-Aids upon Band-Aids. And it was, the medication was destroying me. So how I found out that it was stress was that my sister's a therapist. And we're, as a family, we're trying to huddle and figure this out. And then she said, well, have you thought of it? Because I started developing anxiety issues and stuff like that. And she's like, have you thought of that? Maybe it's just simply stress and anxiety mixed together that's creating this. And then and then she said, these things can happen. And so I started to research that, because I never researched that before. I had no idea what stress can do to the body. And that's just not something that people are taught. We think of stress like, as more of an emotional thing of you're stressed out, you're pulling your hair, that kind of thing. But it's really an internal energy that then begins to, dismantle your energy system in your body, which eventually dismantles your physical system. So when I started doing that research and I realized, okay, wow, and that really resonated, that is what it is, then I simply just took my power back, and given the knowledge that I already had and the ability that I already knew that I had to heal myself, then I just did it. And so I used a lot of techniques and energy techniques to heal myself, but that's what I did.
That is crazy, and it's interesting at the same time, just because recently I had a little thing going on, and one of my friends suggested that it may be stress related, that I'm stressed and my body's acting out, and my exact words was, well, I'm no more stressed than usual.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was good or bad, because I'm constantly operating. I don't want to say, I guess maybe I don't look at it as stress. It's just kind of like I'm adjusted to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we start to build these tolerances with stress and anxiety in our lives, and even feeling unfulfilled is like a norm for most people. There's a statistic that 70% of Americans are walking around unfulfilled every day.
Wow.
That's a large number. And so we create these thresholds and these just kind of tolerances for a life unfulfilled and for general unhappiness or just stress, and we tell ourselves, well, we're sacrificing, we're pushing, we're doing this. And it's true, sometimes we do need to sacrifice in order to get to where we need to be, but there needs to definitely be more of a demand for peace in our lives. And a demand for happiness and real actual fulfillment. And a lot of times when, like with the comment that you made to yourself, well, I'm no more stressed than usual, that it should definitely tell you that, well, there is some stress there clearly, but just because you're feeling something or whatever was happening with you in that moment, just because you weren't feeling any more stress than you normally are, doesn't mean that it wasn't the stress causing it. Because what happens with stress, it's a buildup. And stress is an actual energy. So as an energy healer, I can see the energy and remove it. And that's one of the things that I do. So it's an actual energy that is generated by the body, and that unless it's released, which a lot of times when it's work-related stress and things like that, it's not released. So it just sits in the body, and as the energy sits in the body more and more, it becomes an energy blockage, which then blocks the flow of your life force energy throughout your entire body, which also can create blood flow issues, which then can create numerous issues in your body, because that's everything. So that's why stress can cause so many problems within the body, because everything actually starts on the energy level, and then it takes a while for you to be able to see physical reactions from the root cause, which is an energy cause.
Now let's talk about the whole energy thing, because I would say maybe within like the last 2 years, give or take, you're hearing people talk more about, energy, whether it's negative, positive energy, even the saying, which I love, keep that same energy.
Yep.
I don't know where that comes from, but I'm like, oh, I like that. But you're hearing more people talk about it in some circles, and in other circles it's almost still like taboo, like that sounds witchy, and I'm hearing in Louisiana, not far from New Orleans, and people think New Orleans, they think Mardi Gras and voodoo.
Yeah.
They get to, do you do voodoo? I don't know, maybe something's in my blood, but so kind of break down the energy, I guess would be the best way to say it. Like, how would you explain it to someone that was completely lost, didn't know what the heck you were talking about? Like, what energy, Monica?
Okay, so energy, I can get really complex, but I'm not going to do that, because you're saying break it down for someone who doesn't know certain things. So I also study physics. I'm a huge nerd, so I like to be able to understand everything that I do from a scientific perspective as well. So I can explain a lot of things from a physics standpoint. We're not going to get too deep into physics right now, but basically energy in our body, and the type of energy I'm referring to when it comes to stress and just the energy that we exude from us and that stays within us. Energy is a frequency. And so it's like, it's basically invisible to most people. And it's a particular frequency or vibration, and within the particular, just like if you were looking at a radio and you're tuning to a different station, those different stations, 93.2 or whatever, that's a frequency that you're tuning into. And so that frequency is going towards a particular direction and towards a particular thing. And so when you're feeling stress, that is a particular frequency that your body begins to generate. And that is from your fight or flight response system, which is also your sympathetic nervous system. And so when your sympathetic nervous system is turned on, you're in that fight or flight mode. Most people are in that mode every day, all day. Yeah. And the more you're in that mode, your body is trained to be in that mode. And so that's how people develop anxiety issues. And just a little fun fact, not so fun fact, coffee, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You know where the energy comes from? Why coffee gives you energy? It is tapping into your fight or flight response. It actually excites your sympathetic nervous system.
So should I not drink coffee?
No, I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is, because I get a lot of people that come to me with anxiety issues, and I'm like, how much
Yeah.
coffee do you drink? And they're like, oh, I drink 4
Mm.
cups a day. Well, you're exciting your sympathetic nervous system, 4 times a day with, extreme amounts. So your body is trained to stay in that mode. So, coffee is not the devil. It's not the end of the world, but I do tell people that coffee should be drank sparingly. And it's okay if you have 1 cup here and there, or just as needed, but not to make it a habit. If even 1 cup a day is not the end of the world. I don't suggest it, but definitely people who have more than 1 cup of coffee a day, they are doing a disservice to their system. And when your body is in that fight or flight response mode, I'm going to bring in one law of physics. One law of physics is that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. I'm sure you've heard that one.
Yes.
Now, within our bodies, in order for our body to get energy from somewhere, it doesn't just magically come from somewhere. Our body has to borrow energy from its other processes in order to do something.
Okay.
So the reason why anxiety and stress breaks down the body oftentimes is because in order to stay in that fight or flight response mode, and there have been many studies on this, your body will take the energy away from your healing processes, which are, speaking in just standard Western science terms, your body is always trying to keep itself in balance and homeostasis. And there's a certain energy system within your body that regulates that. And so it takes energy away from that system in order to give it to this fight or flight response mode. Because again, this fight or flight response system within ourselves was not designed for the lifestyles that we're living now. It's designed for, if you see a lion that's coming after you, you need to go.
or fight it.
Exactly. You need to fight or flight. Exactly. And that's not how we're living.
I would run.
What was that?
No, I was saying I would run.
Yeah.
I would definitely run from a lion.
Yeah. So that's how our bodies were designed, and we're not in that type of environment anymore. And so we're always in this state of fight or flight. And so when we talk about, just to bring it back to the original question, because I don't want to get too much on a tangent, but bringing back to the energy itself. So that energy is considered I would consider a negative frequency energy that is inside the body. And so it can just start breaking the body down, because again, it's taking processes away from healing and regulating. And then so what's going to happen with your organs and with your just your blood, as it has to flow through your body, and your life force energy, which some people may not understand what I mean by that, but your life force energy is the actual energy that is behind everything that is in your body. So it is the energy that actually keeps you alive, that actually keeps your body, keeps your blood flowing through your body. It is the energy that flows through your entire system, that makes your cells do what they do, that, it's the invisible man behind the machine. That is your life force energy. And it is necessary for it to flow freely through your body. When it is blocked and cannot flow freely through your body, then that's when your body starts to have problems. And it doesn't happen immediately. A lot of times when people have energy blockages in their body, it may take a year or 2 before you notice that problem. Yeah.
You said so much good stuff. Because I want to go back to the coffee, because what's funny, last year, I used to drink 3 cups a day, honest, and I'm just being honest. 1 in the morning, 1 for that pick me up in the afternoon, and 1 in the evening. And it was more because I do love the taste of coffee, so I was drinking straight black coffee.
Wow.
And I was just, and we're not talking about like baby cute cups. We're talking about, grown woman cups, And so earlier this year, or really the end of last year, I'd said I wanted to start 2019 clean, right? So
Mhm.
I actually went on a fast and I gave up coffee in
Mhm.
2018, which my friends are surprised that, people are still alive, because they know, like, like I had candles that smelled like coffee. It was just a whole coffee experience. And
Mhm.
so I've had coffee maybe twice this year.
Good for
And
you.
it's it's not that I don't want it, because to me coffee is an experience, but I know that because my love of coffee, I could easily go from, you know, how I was last year. And I knew it was too much, but it's just
Mhm.
like I needed it and I wanted it. Um, so I thought that was interesting. So I guess it's another reason for me to stay off coffee. And that would explain how I was able to get so much stuff done.
Mhm.
But the
Yeah,
adjustment, the adjustment was definitely hard because my body was used to it, and
exactly.
that's interesting. Um, no, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, yeah, because when your body gets into a particular pattern and it just starts to automatically continue in that pattern, and so it's always hard to, especially after drinking so many cups a day, for you to go cold turkey, it's definitely hard. And you're not alone. I mean, there are a lot of people that drink so many cups a day, and actually, when I was working so hard and breaking my body in
Hmm.
for money and success, I was drinking a lot of coffee. I was drinking Mountain Dew. I was drinking Monster. Oh, I was going crazy. I don't even know.
You were
I was wilding
wired.
out. Yeah. so, so yeah. And then that's another thing, because after researching things and learning everything that I know now, I look back, I'm like, oh yeah, that was another thing that was like, it was a perfect storm for just like, okay, we're just gonna break you down. It was a
Yeah,
perfect storm. Yeah.
that's Hurricane Monica.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could. But I completely understand. You not know a lot of the audience, especially women and men. I know y'all listen. I appreciate you, but right now I just want to say this specifically for the women that's listening, because we go hard. We got a home to manage, a job to manage, some people, a business to manage, kids, pets, everything. And it's like we don't really have time to slow down enough to naturally function. So we add coffee. I have a thing. I love B12 as well,
Hmm.
and you could look at it on, well, it's the body naturally makes it or something, or no, or everybody's different with their thoughts on B12. But it's like we're building that hurricane or gumbo, like I say, of breaking ourselves down.
Hmm. Yeah. And the body does naturally have, you know, energy that you can access, and without having to tap into that fight or flight mode. And one way that I get energy is
Mhm.
exercising. I encourage everyone
Yeah.
to have a daily routine, and if you don't like to exercise, that's fine, but you have some type of daily routine and do something that gives your body energy. And I'm not saying talking about bodybuilding, exercising. I'm just talking about getting on the treadmill or walking around the block and just moving, because actually moving your legs
Hmm.
generates your life force energy even more to heighten it. So when you're walking, and that's why running and walking, you feel energized afterwards. And so it's called your yin energy. It's a particular type of chi. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's another word for, it's a Chinese word for life
Yeah.
force energy. But basically it's when you're using your legs and you're moving your legs, your lower half of your body, you are generating that energy, and it increases your well-being, and it also increases your active energy that you have as well.
I could definitely what's the word, put a stamp on what you just said about exercise, because when and I'm working on it, Lord, I'm working to get back in the routine. But I used to work out every day, at least an hour, and then, like a day of rest. And I had so much energy. Now, this is before I started with my 3 cup a day, and that's because I was writing. And if anybody's a writer, that when you go into that writing process, your whole being is almost consumed.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just me, because I've been writing since I was 8.
Wow.
So if I had to give everything up, even the podcast, and I do love my audience, but the one thing I would want to keep is writing. But when I go into that process, I literally am consumed. So I noticed, so you think about it, I stopped with my exercising, and I was going hard, spinning, which is straight from the devil.
I have yet to try that, but it
Oh
looks
my,
horrible.
it's the worst experience of your life. But when I tell you, nothing will work you out like spinning. And
Wow.
I'm telling you, I hate it. It's like disgusting.
Well,
But
I'm gonna try it now.
what it does, because you think about it, you just talked about how moving your legs and everything else. So
Hmm.
if you kind of put that together with spinning,
Oh yeah.
and you think about what I was generating by that, so I was like going hard, and then I was like, okay, I got to buckle down, write the book, pick up the coffee, and now just trying to get started back with the exercising and those things. So thank you so much for giving me another reason to exercise, because Lord knows, the older you get, the more reasons you need. I'm sorry.
Oh, I know. I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. It is not easy, and I'm working that out right now.
But what I love, and I wanted to ask you this, because a lot of people, maybe because I'm Southern, we kind of look at things differently or say things different. I don't know. I think we're in a
Mhm.
Bible Belt or something. But when you get to talking, like if you say somebody's bringing like a negative spirit into my house, or I don't want that negative spirit in my house, or
Mhm.
people will say that. But I could see like spirit and energy being the same thing from our discussion.
Well, and I apologize. I meant to tap into that when you originally asked your question about like the voodoo thing and all of
Yeah.
that. So yeah, the thing is, and I've studied every form of spirituality, believe it or not, because I'm a nerd. So since I was about 15 or 16, I've studied just about every religion and just about every
Mm,
spiritual path and every spiritual practice. So I'm very well versed in voodoo, Santeria, all of those things, as well as Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, you name it. So one thing that I have come to learn, okay, from just studying all of these different things and seeing the inner workings of them and how what people are the practitioners of all of these different things are actually doing. Everyone's doing the same thing,
mm,
calling it something different. And we put a whole lot of taboos on things, and we put a
yeah.
whole lot of superstition on things, and a lot of secrecy. We shroud things in secrecy, but the reality is everyone's tapping into the same energy. They just have different ways of explaining it and different little belief systems behind why that energy works the way that it does. But at the end of the day, um, a voodoo priestess is doing the same thing that a Catholic priest is doing, and the same thing that a Christian healer is doing. The same thing. What I do is very similar. One of the ways that I heal, because I heal using a lot of different modalities, but one of the ways I heal is very similar to a what the Christians would call a faith healer.
Okay.
I'm allowing the energy of God to flow through me and reach the other person, and that healing energy naturally flows through me. And so and then there's another healing modality which I'm trained in called Reiki, and I don't know if you've heard of that one,
Yeah.
but it's a Japanese form of healing, and they call that energy that flows through them Reiki energy, but it's the same exact energy that flows through a faith healer that they're calling God energy.
Mm,
Because again, it's just different words, but it's the same energy that everyone is tapping into. And just like when we compare, say, because you use the example of voodoo, say we compare voodoo to, and a lot of people will probably buck at this, but fact. So believe it or not, take it or leave it. When you look at a person practicing voodoo, stereotypically, as we see on TV, right? And then you see what happens in, the Catholic Church during their rituals. They're lighting candles, but they're both lighting candles. They're both have little like scepters and hats and all kinds of,
Yeah.
like it's ceremony. And so, but what everyone is really tapping into, and I'm not talking about the people out there doing mean things. I'm talking about the true the truth underneath every religion, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Buddhism, whether it's Islam. It's all the same principles underneath everything, and everyone is dealing with energy. And so when you're in a church and you're feeling that Holy Spirit, that's the same Holy Spirit that exists in other houses of worship. Right. It's the same Holy Spirit that is received and felt, and what you're feeling is that energy, that vibration of just tapping into that source energy that we're all a part of anyway. And so the way I see it is that these different religions, these different spiritual paths, different spiritual practices are simply just different pathways to reaching the same source energy. And so these different pathways may appeal to certain people because of their life experiences and whatever their beliefs are individually, but they're just different pathways to the same energy source. That's my take on everything, based on my practice, based on my experience, based on my research, and what I see as reality.
Thank you for breaking that down. And I think what people don't realize is that if you break down, each religion or practice, like you said, the root of everything is the same. To me, the root of everything is love. Now, and people turn it evil.
Exactly. And one example I'd like to use is if you take a knife, right? You could either use that knife to slice some bread, or you could use that knife to kill someone. It doesn't make the knife bad. It makes the person and the intention of who's using it bad. So, and it's the same thing with religion. And I mean, I personally, one reason why I was so interested in studying religion, well, it was clearly just a part of my path. But I come from a divided family. It's not divided in terms of actual conflict, but literally half my family is Christian and half my family is Muslim. I have a Christian sister and a Muslim sister, a Muslim father and a Christian mother. And it's literally so. And everyone gets along. I didn't mean division in terms of that. It's just the difference of religion. But but I find that very interesting. And so we have very interesting discussions. But I realized
that's what I was going to ask. Like, do y'all shy away from Christian Muslim issues, or do y'all bring it together and say, hey, let's have a powwow and talk about this?
Well, there's always going to be certain things because of the belief systems that are built into every religion. There's going to be certain things that are going to be points of contention. And so everyone respects each other and just kind of stays away from those points of contention. But everyone agrees on, again, the core of every religion, which is to be a good person, to do good things in the world, and to tap into that source energy, no matter what you want to call it. And so, we're all really in cohesiveness on that. Me personally, I don't subscribe to any particular religion. I am more just connected because I realize just that everyone's saying the same thing. And and my personal belief system is my own. And I can't put it in a box, and I can't create a name for it, because it's just mine. And it's just my personal belief system, and it's not at odds with anyone's religion. It's not at odds with anyone's belief system, because again, we all have that similarity. And so when I have clients that come to me, and that's the beautiful thing, because I've studied so many things, no matter what religion someone is, I can speak to them in their language and help them through their own faith. So it's not really about what I believe. So if someone comes to me and they're Muslim, I know exactly how to speak to them to get them to connect and to get them to connect to their life purpose and really start living their life purpose and do it through their own faith. And I'll do the same thing for a Christian. I do the same thing for a Hindu or a Buddhist or anyone.
I love that. Thank you for sharing it, because a lot of times people aren't, I don't want to say aren't that honest or transparent, because, you know, especially in this day and age where it's really cool and popular to post a lot of Christian quotes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. It is.
So, or to be, you have to pick a side of the fence or something like that. People are interesting. Something I want to ask is, because you can feel energy, and one of the things that I've said, like when I meet people, and I just say it in my own Valencia way, because I kind of feel like, you know, if you don't like it, this is who Valencia is. But I feel like I could feel somebody when I meet them, you know what I'm saying? So there's been times that I've went to, you know, networking events or met people that I know I just need to put my business card in their hand and everything else. And there's literally been times that I've went out, like had great conversation, went to reach my business card to somebody, and something inside of me was like, no. And I've literally put my business card back up in my little purse or whatever in front of people, because I feel like, and I'll say, you know, ooh, their vibe is off, or, you know, their spirit, my discernment, my spirit don't like
my
their
spirit don't take them.
Right. And you know, and it's interesting because, like you said, basically we're all talking about the same thing, so to speak, just call it different things. So with you being that in tune, do you find yourself meeting people and it's almost like, you know, and then like you turn and go the other way, or like, how do you handle that part?
Well, so first I want to touch upon what is happening. I just want to give a little and shed a little light on what's happening within you when that's happening to you.
Yay.
So when that's happening to you, when you're feeling that, like, I don't know about this person.
Yeah.
So are you aware of the aura that you have around you? Of what an aura is?
No, but I've been told by a friend of mine that I have a peaceful purplish, and don't quote me because it's been a while ago, aura.
Okay.
That I have had people tell me, like, you know, when I walk in a room, so to speak. So I don't know if that helps answer what you asked me.
So you understand that an aura is kind of an energy around that surrounds you, and it does have color to it. Right. So and so just for the listeners, your aura is part of your energy field, and it actually spans 10 feet around you. And your aura is an absorption, it kind of absorbs other energies that are around you, and within those energies is a particular coding. And so I'll kind of explain it as, okay, so there's a particular coding within the energy. So for instance, this is why we see colors. Color is a frequency, and it's a frequency in a spectrum, right? So color is an energy frequency, and it's this particular vibration, and within that vibration has coded information. And so I'm just going to leave it at that for now, because I can get very detailed into that coding, but I don't want to confuse people. So just know that within your aura and within that energy field is coded information. So within your particular aura, your emotions, because your emotions are frequencies as well, they're an energy. Your thoughts are a frequency, they're an energy. And then your, just the energy that sits within you, your memories, all of those things are energy. They're actual energies and frequencies. And so that kind of exudes into your aura, and that determines the different colors, the different shades that appear, because again, those colors are part of a spectrum of frequency. Are you following me so far?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
I'm
good.
all in. I'm all in.
Okay, good. So within that, if you're having a bad day, if you're depressed, that is actually showing in your aura. Because again,
Mm,
that's emotion, and that energy is residing within you, but it also is exuding from you. And so when you are in the proximity with someone, as just, a person, you don't have to have any gifts for this. If you are in proximity with another person and you're within 10 feet of a person, your auras are mixing together
mm,
because your aura spans 10 feet around you. So as your aura is mixing with their aura, your aura is taking in information, because again, there's coded information in
right.
their aura. Your aura is absorbing some of their information. And so what your intuition, because we all are psychic in some senses, without calling ourselves psychic. We all have that
Right.
ability within us. We all have the ability. Being psychic is simply just tapping in. And again, these are just words that people like to use and labels people like to give, but all it is means that you are tapped in. You are able to read coding in energy, and you're able to see beyond what most people can see. But
Mm,
really, everyone has that innate ability at a base level. And so when you are receiving this coding information in your aura, because it's mixing with theirs, it's sending that information to you, and then your intuition is telling you, let me get out of here. Or
yeah.
let me not work with this person, because you may not fully understand what you're receiving, but you are receiving it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I'm having like so many, and I'm sure the audience is as well, so many instances, situations running through my mind where, and I just call it a vibe, or something
Mhm.
like that. Um, to where like you just know, like some stuff you can't put into words, you just know. Like I can't put my finger on it, but something about that person ain't right. And that's how we, that's, I'm sure you've heard that because you're in the South now. So I'm sure you've heard somebody say that, or and I say it all the time. Like I'll
Mhm.
tell my son, and I'll meet one of his friends or some little girl, whatever. And I was like, mama don't know what it is, but something, about that person don't
Yeah.
don't don't sit well with me.
Yeah, and that's why you got to listen to that intuition, because that intuition is there for a reason. That's actually part of our survival system. That's why it comes natural to us. And again, most people don't understand how that works, but hopefully you understand a little more now that I explain. But there's a whole lot going on behind the scenes that's unseen, that drives us and is working with us without us realizing what's happening. But you have to listen to that, because it's telling you that for a reason. Like, okay, I don't like this person's energy. Let me move away from that. And again, it's part of our survival system, because we're social creatures,
Yeah.
and in order to survive, we need to know who's bad and who's good, who what
Right.
situation is going to get me killed, or not maybe not that extreme, but you know what I mean.
Right. I'm gonna do some research because that's very interesting. Because I always said, that's because I prayed for, I'm very Southern. I prayed for discernment, and my discernment's on 10. That's what I always say. Like my
I
discernment
love that. I
is,
love it.
you know, like my discernment's on 10, or I
Yeah.
say, my spidey senses. Sometimes I'll say, this person makes the back of my throat itch, and it takes people that like know me to know what I'm saying when I say
Hmm.
that. But it just basically sums everything up. Something about them don't sit well with me, and now I know my aura and their aura is not mixing good.
Yeah, you know that. And just to what you were just saying, discernment, a lot of that word is used a lot in Christian churches. And what that really is equated, with what I was saying earlier, when people
Yeah.
say psychic. It's the same thing. So in
Mm.
the church, in the Christian church, they use terms like discernment, or prophesize,
Yeah.
things like that. It's the same thing as basically what a psychic is. And so, because that, the term psychic has a negative connotation, because that's what it's been given over the years, that, a lot of people kind of get afraid of those words. But
Yeah.
I always like to break things down to people, because it's important. And so I used to actually, for a little bit was kind of not sure whether I should even, because I am psychic, I do have these abilities. And so I was even for a while not sure if I should, use that term because of the connotation that it has. And I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm doing, because I'm not over here doing readings or looking at crystal balls.
Yeah,
And
you're
things like that.
not Miss Cleo
Yeah.
or
Yeah. And I'm instead I use my abilities to actually help people. So I use my psychic abilities to tune into people, see what's holding them back, use my healing abilities to remove those things, and then the other skills that I have to then, set them on their path. But yeah, so then I became, well, no, this word, this is the only word that people know that actually explains what I do. So I'm just going to use it.
yeah.
So yeah.
That's good. That's good. Like everything you're saying, and I love the way you're unpacking it. So even somebody that's listening to the show that don't understand or feel some kind of way because they're extra Christian, and y'all, my audience, they understand who I am and everything else, and I'm a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the part of you're putting good out that
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, that's what matters to me. And I think if more people focus on that, it's not like you going around smiting people
Yeah.
or putting curses on people or anything of that. And the reason why I say that, because I remember telling my grandmother, like, Ma, if I was an angel, I'd be one of those that'll be smiting people. Like, I have no patience. Like, you do something crazy, I'm just striking you down. Does that make me a bad Christian? Because I know I would be probably some sort of judgmental angel,
She didn't say judgmental angel.
because I don't know that I would give anybody a chance. I'm just, I'm
I'm
still
sure you would. I'm sure you would.
I'm walking this thing out. So let's talk about because you have two methods that you created: the soul revelation and mind advancement. So why don't
Yes.
you go ahead and hit a little bit about both of those?
Okay, so the soul revelation method, I'm so excited about that method because so what it is it's a way for your soul to reveal itself to you. And so how I developed it is I used to, because I'm I have my spiritual gifts, people would come to me all the time, with working with people with life purpose, and I can tap into someone and tell them exactly what their purpose is because I can see it, and it's I can tap into their soul and kind of be able to see what that is, but it's much more profound and a much more it's just a much more profound experience and sinks in more to someone's being if they discover it themselves instead of being told. And that's also that is the learning process of our human experience, right? We learn something a lot better when we go through a discovery process versus someone just tells us the answer.
True.
So I started to develop a way to be able to, for them to be able to tap into their own soul, and for that soul to be able to reveal itself and say, why am I here? Because your soul knows why it came here. It knows it's, we are spiritual beings in living a human experience, and that spirit knows why it came here, why it why it's living this life and what it's here to achieve. And we're all here for a purpose, no matter what your religion is, no matter what you believe in. We are all here for a purpose, and we all have a purpose, and that purpose is always going to be around what impact are you having on this world.
That's good.
And so that's extremely important, because a lot of people go their entire lives without knowing, why am I here, and trying to figure it out, or maybe not even caring anymore because they can't figure it out. And just like, okay, I'm just going to make it up, and that's fine. So people go their entire lives without figuring that out. And so what I did was, through my extensive research, again, like I'm a nerd. So my extensive research into the subconscious mind, into how the soul interacts with the body, how the soul interacts with, the effects of the soul on the life, on your actual life, on your physical body, all of those things, the spirituality itself. So all of the tools of knowledge that I have, as well as physics, all of the tools of knowledge that I have, I was able to bring all of that together into a innovative technique that allows me to tap into someone's subconscious mind and go beneath that and actually tap into the soul level, and then the soul starts to reveal itself to them, and it's an entire discovery process, and they literally are able to find out within one session answers to the questions, why am I here? What am I here to do? Am I on the right path? Things like that. There's more things that we can find out through this method, but all of those answers come in that session, and it's like, wow. And oftentimes it's something that is just like, oh my God, I've always had something that kind of told me that a long time ago, but I ignored it, or and it's so interesting. And so when people go through this process, it's been widely successful. It took me about a year to develop this method, and so I trademarked it, of course,
Yeah.
and called it the soul revelation method, because your soul reveals itself to you. And so when people come out of this this session, they're just like, just what's the word? They're just amazed. That's the only word I can use. They're just amazed, but also they come out of it with a sense of direction and a
Yeah.
sense of confidence and like what they're here to do, and a sense of confidence in that, in their own, and clarity, really.
Yeah.
Definitely a sense of clarity that they've never had before.
I
But
was thinking as you were talking about it, like clarity and confirmation.
yes, because sometimes they already knew.
Yeah.
And they just needed the confirmation, like, okay, yep, I'm definitely doing this. Because sometimes people come to me, they're like, I think I know what I'm here for, but I'm not 100% sure, and maybe I have an idea, but I don't know how that correlates to anything else. Like, what do I do with that? How do I get there? And so sometimes they just simply receive that confirmation, but within that confirmation is a lot more profound information about themselves and who they truly are.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and then so that's the soul revelation method, and then the mind advancement method is again a similar process of using all the tools I have available to me, but the mind advancement method is a way of actually advancing the mind. So first, we can do so many things through the mind advancement method, but we can remove limiting belief systems, things that are holding you back mentally and subconsciously. So that could be mental trauma, that could be limiting belief systems, self-confidence issues. We can remove all of those things and reprogram the mind to work for you instead of against you. Because as we know, a lot of times our minds are working against us. It's that little devil on the shoulder that's telling you, you can't, everyone else can do it but you,
Yeah.
you don't deserve this, you're not worthy. And so it's taking that out and reprogramming that and saying, no, you are worthy. You are, you are here for a purpose. You can do it. Giving you that confidence, giving you that inner superwoman, bringing that out. I always say, bring out the inner superwoman. So, and for men too, Superman, that's fine.
Yeah.
but it's about bringing that out, but also beyond that, I can do so many cool things through there too. I can even improve memory. I can improve your cognitive functions. I can improve your analytical thinking. So it's like super brain.
I love that. And then I see how both of them can go hand in hand, because if you look
Yeah.
at with the soul revelation, knowing what you're supposed to do and having the actual confidence to do it, removing those limiting beliefs and everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're two separate things, but they're so intertwined that you got to have both.
You do. And that's exactly what I do, because after they find out their purpose, guess what? There's a million other questions.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop there. It's not like, oh, now I know my purpose, everything's perfect. No, now you know your purpose. So now we have a foundation of how to move forward. But now we have to get past the one thing that always comes after that is fear. And that fear is rooted in lack of trust in yourself, lack of, knowledge sometimes of, okay, I see where I'm supposed to go. How the heck am I going to get there from here?
Yeah.
And so that's where the purpose alignment coaching comes in, and also the mind advancement. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Like, I have so many notes. How I'm gonna go back? It's because you said, like, you've hit so many nails on the head, and I'm just going through the filters in my mind, and different things in my mind with people I know, not just people, but me too, because we always have to analyze ourselves as well.
Yeah.
And I love how you're breaking everything down, and then, throwing in the scientific. Let's throw in some physics here, some research.
You gotta do it.
Like, I love that. So what is the for a typical client? What is their transformation process? Like, is it like, excuse me, I'm stumbling. Is it like, okay, Monica, I'm ready, and then the next day it's all good? Or what is that process like?
No, it is definitely not the next day, but but they come to me with, I do so many things. They come to me with with a problem. Usually in some way, shape, or form, it is a lack of direction in life, or knowing that something has to stop, something has to change. Whatever they're doing now is not working. And or knowing that I know what I want to do, but I don't know how to get there. And so they come to me in that state. And so their transformative journey, it really starts with healing, because I equate it to, I like to use an analogy of a white t-shirt. If you wore the same white t-shirt every day for 40 years, guess how dirty it would be? And that is what is happening to our bodies, because people do not, more people are getting open to it. Like you said, more people are mentioning energy and things like that. But if you have never been to an energy healer, if you have never opened yourself up to the cleansing of your actual energy, and I'm not talking about just like you go to the doctor for checkups, you really should be checking in on your energy. And so sometimes that's through the church, and that's fine, because, like I said, they have faith healers, and they can definitely do some serious healing. And whatever religion you are, there's always a form of something equated to a healer there, usually in most faiths. So and really they're working with your energy, because they're working with your spirit, and that's your energy. So if you have not really gone through the washing machine ever, then then you're going to have a whole lot of stuff that you're holding on to, and those things are going to be holding you back. So that is the first thing that happens in a transformation. And the day of the healing, the first healing I do on someone, it's life-changing, 100%. They feel different right away. And so they feel better, happier, like a weight's been lifted. And then we just continue on from there. So we first start with healing, with setting, kind of pressing that reset button, getting them back at their base level of who they truly are, where their energy is supposed to be. And then it's uplifting them from there. So the journey is healing, and then it's self-discovery. And it's, who am I? What am I here for? And there's so much spirituality in that. And again, whatever their religion is, I work through that. And because I've been anointed to be able to do that. So that's what I do. So I work with them through whatever their faith is. And if they have no faith, then I just, help them with the actual energy. But I'm very clear on the importance of being connected to that higher energy, because that energy flows through all of us. And it is so important for us to be connected to that, because when we deny that energy, we're denying a part of ourselves, and we're denying a part of our birthright to be a part of that beautiful energy that has the ability to flow through everything. And so So, I work with people on that and allow them to expand and allow their soul and their spirit to expand and kind of envelope them and hug them. And and then their transformation from there is all about growing mentally and really, really reshaping themselves into who they've always wanted to be. And I'm always about becoming the best version of yourself, not
Yeah.
who I want you to be or who your mama wants you to be, but who you're supposed to be, and what your potential is. And your potential is always limitless. So it's always striving toward the highest level that we can strive towards, in becoming that version of yourself. And the baseline of that is always driven by the purpose. That is when you'll find that fulfillment. Because if you're not aligned with your purpose, you're not going to be fulfilled.
#amen.
Hey.
Which is something I periodically say.
#amen. I love it. Yep. And then just from there, real quick, so then, their minds are transformed, and then they literally start to become that best version of themselves. That would be, I don't want to even say the end of the transformation, because the transformation, we are always in a state of becoming, and we're never done. So that transformation continues on. But from the time someone works with me to the time their program that they've chosen is done, they are a completely different person. In a very, they are. It's like night and day. They came to me confused with a problem, and they leave me so confident, so powerful, so ready to conquer the world.
That is awesome. You've given so much information. I feel like the audience should pay you.
I'll accept tips. No.
But I just want to thank you so much for, the great information, the bringing everything together and being very transparent and honest with everything that you've shared. So I just wanted to say I really appreciate that.
Well,
so as we get ready to close, what one tip could you leave with the audience today, the ones that's feeling that negative energy, regardless of what they want to call it, or they feel like they really, have given up on their purpose? I don't know, just one tip.
Well, if you feel that you've given up on your purpose, or you're just confused and kind of stuck in that, it's important to go within and be introspective. So, but in order to do that, you have to be silent. And so you have to stop things, and you have to take some time for yourself, to be able to really look inside of yourself, to get to know who you are, to get to know what are the things that are holding you back from understanding, what are the things that are possibly making you afraid. Because a lot of times when it comes to a life purpose, if people are getting stuck, it's out of frustration, and sometimes that is a lack of belief in themselves of, well, this is never going to happen. So it's a pessimistic viewpoint as well, kind of a pessimistic mindset, but also a lack of belief in themselves mindset. And so it's a limiting belief system that they have to deconstruct and start to really tell themselves a different story, because inside of ourselves sometimes we tell ourselves a whole lot of lies about ourselves that tells us, we're not good enough and this is never going to happen. And they make comments like, oh, well, with my luck, XYZ. And those are, words are powerful, and they teach you that in the church, and in every other religion they teach you that in yoga. I forgot what you call it, but the system of yoga teaches you that as well, and Buddhism teaches you that as well. Words are powerful, and so when you say those words, they words are a vibration, and you're putting that energy, you're putting that out there into the universe for that to be your reality. And so, because we can manifest our own reality. So I think it's important when people are feeling stuck that they be introspective. And if you're afraid of meditating, which you should not be afraid of meditating, then pray, because prayer is a form of meditation. Again, we're using different words. We're talking about the same stuff. So when you're in deep prayer, guess what? You're meditating. So there, no. But you know, when you're in deep prayer, you're in actually a meditative state, or you can just meditate. But either way, you want to be introspective and get to know who you are and allow those answers to come to you. And if you're still not getting answers, if you're still not getting any clarity, then it's because you're energetically blocked, and you need to see someone who can help you get unblocked.
So good. That was so good. And I wrote down, and this was something I posted like a while ago about listen and silent, and it's the reason why they have the same letters. And
I like it.
Look, I'm a folly like, okay, Monica gonna post that. But no, it's a quote that I saw, or either a quote, meme, whatever, that I saw somewhere, and I never looked at it like that. I mean, who ever looked at, okay, they have the same letters, like it had to be somebody with a big brain. But it makes sense. And the problem is we can't listen to our spirit, our soul, our energies, what's going on, because we're not silent. And when I say silent, you know, when you talk about meditating, which is a goal for me this year to learn how to meditate, but I have to learn how to be silent so I can listen. So
that's the only way, because you can't hear through clutter. You can't hear through noise. You have to be in silence, and you can have music on while you're meditating. I'm not saying silence in that way, but you have to stop down. You have to shut down all the noise that's going on in your life and take time for yourself. And even 5 minutes a day in meditation will make a world of difference. Everyone can find 5 minutes a day. So what I tell some people is, even if you have to at work go into the bathroom, into a stall and meditate, then do that. A lot of jobs these days have, you know, a prayer room or some type of spiritual room or a meditation room or something. Bigger corporations are starting to do that. But if you happen to work at a place that has that, great, use it. If not, sit in your car, sit in the bathroom, whatever you need to do, but don't deny yourself that right to be with yourself. And don't be afraid of it either, because it's you.
That is good. You've given so much great information. I know the audience definitely wants to find out more about you, connect with you. So how can they do that?
Yes. Okay. So you can go to my website at monicabey.com, and that is spelled B-E-Y, then my last name. So it's monicabey.com. And you can also find me on all social media at The Real Monica Bey.
That's real simple.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
No dots, no underscores.
Nope, I keep it like that. So, because Monica Bey was already taken, so I said, well, you know what? How about this? I'm the real one.
And I was going to ask that, but I was going to ask that off the interview, because I know a few people that have like the real. So have you ever reached out to her and been like, hey, we got the same name, but I'm the real one?
No. I don't want no trouble.
Especially because you have such a unique last name. I bet you were probably like, what in the world? Who else is this?
Yeah, I was surprised at anyone that it was a person that had my last name. And the weird thing is, because my last name is actually from the Moorish Science Temple. I don't know if but it's one of the first Black Power movements in the United States. And they took the last names and threw them away and gave the last name Bey, because it has a lineage to African rulership. But anyway, so it's very in here in America anyway, it's a very Black name, and the person that has the name is Asian. So I thought that was interesting.
Really?
I've never seen anyone else with that last name.
Wow, that is, because I've never heard it.
Yeah. Okay. Really.
And I've never heard, not spelled that way that I can recall. You know, you got to break everything down. Because I think the director or whatever of Bad Boys' name is Michael Bay. But I think it's spelled different. I'm a nerd in all factors except physics, except science. Okay, science. But when it comes to like movies, and I love psychology, different things like that. But anything that gets too sciencey, my eyes start to glaze over. I'm not even gonna lie. But you made it
That's
interesting. Like somebody that isn't into like physics and things like that. Like, okay, I may have to learn about this. Very good. Very good. Well, thank you so much, Miss Monica. It has been like a phenomenal interview. And I know the audience definitely is going to reach out and, get with you, find out more about the soul revelation method, the mind advancement. I mean, that is very, very interesting.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here. It was a pleasure speaking to you. And this was a great interview. I had a lot of fun. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Awesome. Well, guys, with that being said, pens and papers down. Class is officially over. Do not forget to connect with Miss Monica Bey at monicabey.com. And of course, the real Monica Bey on all social media. Y'all have a great night or day, whenever you're listening. Just have a great time.
Thank you for listening. Connect with the show at the Define You Facebook. Until next time, remember your past doesn't define you. It gives you definition, and what you do with that is up to you.